Hi, I'm Tim Welch. This is my YouTube account, Selfless Awakening, where I talk about tools to find life fulfillment, consciousness, the universe, all those kinds of fun things. If you like the stuff I'm talking about, subscribe so you can stay up to date on my latest videos. So today I want to talk about the topic of complaining. What do we do when we witness ourselves complaining, if we're lucky enough to witness ourselves complaining, which I'll explain what I mean by lucky enough in a second. Also, how do we handle complaining energy when we are speaking to someone and they're complaining? Or if we have to be in a day-to-day experience with someone who resonates a lot with a complaining energy. Okay, so I want to talk about that a bit. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is we don't want to use this self-awareness as we deepen into it as a tool to beat ourselves up with. It's very easy to, because self-awareness, when we start really waking up and having a genuine willingness to look at the truth within ourselves, it can be hard to see some of the patterns that we were operating in, and it's embarrassing, and you can feel, I can't believe that I do that. I can't believe I complain. I can't believe I'm not, and then we add another double whammy, like our spiritual ego kicks in and starts judging us because of the thing we've witnessed inside of ourselves. So I don't want, when you do discover yourself complaining, for you to use that as a way to further feel bad about yourself. By you witnessing it, you actually are given a gift, and you can use that gift to feel better. When we witness the complaining energy in ourselves, what we can do is this. First, we look at it and we can ask ourselves from a place of awareness. If we've been gifted with any awakening, and what I mean by that is this becoming present to ourselves, not as our thoughts, not as our body, but as the awareness that's inside of ourselves. It becomes a very powerful tool in life. And what we can do is step out and look at the complaining energy and go, okay, what's bothering me? And just ask that, throw that question out into the universe, into the emptiness in your head. That's what I do. And I ask myself. And the voice is like waiting to talk. It's like, is he going to ask? Is he going to ask what's bothering me? Because I can't wait to say. And so the voice in my head will go, and it'll just go off. Well, it's really bothering me that either it's something I'm doing, or either it's something somebody else did, or it's a current situation, or maybe a business thing or whatever. And there will be, I can't believe that every time, why didn't you respond to my email? It's been 3 days. Like whatever the voice, the voice is going to be whatever it is. And I'll allow it to flow. Like I'll let it come out. I'll let the voice out. Blah, 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 I'll let it out. And once it kind of feels like it's been said, or once I start noticing what it is saying, looping in my mind, then I know that I've extracted what it I've heard what it has to say. As soon as the complaint starts saying the same things over and over, that's when it's time to go, okay, I've heard enough. But we need to allow the complaining for ourselves, okay? And at first, we need to allow it to be looked at. Then once we've looked at it and we hear the voice, I'm so tired of him or her not responding to my email. I didn't want to say him or her, because anyone who's watching this that's a friend of mine might say, wait, did I not respond to his email? I'm just making it. So I'm frustrated that I haven't heard back, let's say, from him. I haven't heard back from him in 3 days. Then I would say, well, what can I learn from that? Well, then the universe, then the higher self version always answers and goes, well, maybe you could learn to be a little more patient. Or maybe you could let them know that you would appreciate a response in a certain time frame. Or maybe, and what will come will be some sort of very logical little, well, have you considered maybe doing this or that? Like some sort of writing of the situation will come to my mind most of the time, right away, as soon as I ask. And then I'll go, okay, I'm open to that being a solution. And then I'll ask the universe, is there anything else I can learn from this? And then I'll ask. And then if nothing else immediately comes, then I just say one more thing. I'll say, universe, if there's anything else for me to learn from this down the road, I'm open to your guidance on it. And then I turn my mind away from it. And just if there's something that's really got a big emotional charge in me, what I will notice is that it may take a little while as I'm refocusing. It'll be like my mind will be pulled back to it. I meditate, I allow it, I honor you, energy. I've learned from you right now. And especially if the voice is, if the voice starts saying something new, then sometimes I'll honor the new thing I'll honor anything that comes up. But if the voice is saying something new, I'll look at that and I'll listen to it. But usually, once you've really given the voice a chance to talk, everything it says is a repetition of what it just said. So, the key is to just gently continue to guide your mind. Yep, I heard you. I've honored that you're here, and I'm focusing here now. Yep, I hear you. Okay, so then you go about focusing on maybe do some gratitude work after that, do some no-thought meditation after that, those kinds of things. That's typically what I do. Do some cardio, some yoga, some drawing, anything that's going to shift your focus and just allow that energy to be. Because as you allow it to be, it will just, it kind of calms down a little bit. That's my experience. Now, if we have complaining in other people, that's a little different story. This is where it's very important for you to, moment by moment, tap into your intuitive guidance, your awareness, and ask yourself, what's the most loving thing to do in this situation? Because it's not always the same in every situation. For instance, if I'm dealing with a complaining energy from one of my clients as a vocal instructor or doing a coaching or something, that's a very different, I have a very different way that I handle complaining energy than the way I would handle it if I'm at a grocery store and the cashier's complaining, or I'm in the elevator with somebody who's complaining, or someone's fixing my daughter's trumpet and they're complaining, which, man, I really had that happen. And I have to say that it's different in every situation. For instance, when I'm with a client, I'm there with them one-on-one. I don't have my intuitive guidance wouldn't say, as soon as they start complaining, like, get out of the room, cancel the lesson. No, I have to honor that they're here spending time with me. And if they have something that they need to get off their chest and they're gonna say, I'm going to do for them the same process that I do for myself, which is I'm going to allow them to talk and get it out. I'm going to reframe it with them where I'm going to kind of look at it a different way, like, maybe if they're complaining, like, I can't believe that I said this to, I can't believe that they're mad at me for saying that, like, I wasn't doing anything wrong by saying that to them, and they're just complaining about somebody reacting to something they said. What I'll do is I'll say, I'll always kind of shift it into sort of a zoomed out way of looking at it. Like, they were doing the best they can. They didn't know any better. Or, and I don't do it in a confrontational way. I do it in a softening way. Like, you were doing the best you can. You were trying to do the right thing, and it's okay. Like, sometimes things get misinterpreted, and I'll just kind of zoom out and soften a little bit. But I don't do it confrontationally, like, maybe you're the one that needs to look at the problem. Like, I don't go at people. I wouldn't do that. I just kind of shift it, like, maybe there's something okay. Maybe there's something to learn here. Maybe there's something to look at, or maybe it's not so bad. I always like to take and minimize if there's a receptivity to it. There's not always a receptivity to it. Sometimes it's just, I'm going to sit there and they're going to say it, and I'm going to meditate into my awareness, and it just goes right through me. And then once they get it out, then I connect when it's over. Like, there are times where that is what I do, because I feel that so at some part along on this awakening journey, when we get aware of ourselves as the awareness enough, and we meditate into that presence that we are, and we know how to do that enough, we can in the face of anything, kind of let stuff pass through. And when someone is complaining, if it feels to me intuitively like they need to get this out, and I feel that, I'll let them get it out. And I get into that quiet place. I meditate into the awareness that's my hands. I meditate into the awareness inside of my head, and I just kind of hold space for them with sort of this loving, supportive energy. And I'll just hold the awareness there. And what I notice, which is really cool, is that when I'm present like that, when I get to that place of quietness and stillness, if someone is complaining to me, I find the complaining doesn't last very long. Like, when they realize that I'm not plugging into that state of being with them, when I'm not plugging into and I'm not reinforcing their complaining energy, what happens is that it's like the complaining energy realizes it doesn't have a home here, and it's like it retracts in, because complaining energy doesn't like to be looked at as complaining energy. Complaining energy likes you to look at what it's complaining about. So when you step back and just allow it, when someone's complaining and they're in this energy and they're looking at you and you're just peaceful, it feels really weird to keep complaining to someone who's just looking at you with this loving, beaming, everything's okay energy. Like, it's a very strangely powerful tool to that comes with this awakening process. The thing that you want to be mindful of, why you want to be so present when someone complains, is because if you're not present, if you're identified with your thoughts, if you're kind of a little frantic yourself, if you're not aware, what will happen is they can pull you in. And if you get pulled into the complaining energy, either you feel like you start saying, yeah, you're right, that same thing happened to me. You start the snowballing effect of complaining with them, then you are, then you're in it. Or you can also get into it if you start going up against it and start saying, listen, you need to stop this complaining. Like, you start getting annoyed with their complaining. As soon as you go there, you're right there with them. So for you, the key is to just be really present. Don't engage with it. Don't tap into it. Allow it. And it will almost always stop. Now, there are some times where I feel it is, if they're complaining really hard and you're doing some reframing, you're like, well, maybe it's not so bad. Like, that's one step you can do. Or like, you kind of step out, you say, well, have you considered looking at it this way? Maybe they were right, or maybe there's something that you have to look at there. If you feel comfortable saying that, go there. Other times, it might be that you'll catch them in a moment of a break in the complaining, and you can shift the conversation somewhere else. Like, hey, when they're complaining, just get really present and hear what they're saying, but also open your mind to, I wonder what I could engage them with right now that would get them thinking about something joyful. Maybe thinking about one of their kids, or thinking about something exciting that happened to you. Usually they don't want to hear about something exciting that happened to you, because they may not be excited about what's happening to you. Maybe something that's exciting that's happening to them you could bring up, just to kind of present some shifting. That's another way you can explore that. Now, I do also want to say there are some situations where the best thing to do is just to not engage with the person. There are sometimes people that it's not just that they're in a complaining energy right now. It can be sometimes that they're living in a chronic state of complaining, so now it's become a temperament and a mood, and it's something that they stay in. Their mind is fixated on complaining. When someone's fixated on complaining, they are attracting everything they're complaining about. And think about that. Like, when you go out to a party, if a person that complains a lot goes out to a party, who do they gravitate to? They gravitate to the people that like to complain. And also the opposite of people that are kind of chill and high vibrating and laid back. When they go to a party, who are they attracted to? The people that are chill and high vibrating and laid back. like attracts like. That's a law of the universe. And so that's one good barometer for us too. Like, look at, do you hang out with a lot of people that complain? If you hang out with a lot of people that complain, then that means you resonate with that energy. And that means you definitely have some complaining to look at inside of yourself. You know, when we have someone that's really chronically complaining, sometimes the most loving thing for us to do is to not engage with them, is to step away, is to quit picking up the phone, or maybe pick up the phone and just say, hey, I love you, and this is your continual complaining, that I feel you're complaining a lot. It makes, I feel that when you're talking, I've allowed you to say the things you've said. I've made peace with you saying the things you've said, and you continue to say them, and you don't ever seem to really be open to talking about solutions. And so for me, I feel that doesn't make me feel good, and so I'm feeling that the right thing to do is to distance myself from you a little bit. That's the highest. If you can bring yourself to a place of saying the truth to that friend, it will likely be very uncomfortable, but it will be that one of the greatest gifts you could ever give them is a loving, truthful statement to them. There are some times where that may not feel appropriate, and it may not be, it may not feel intuitively like the right thing to do, and that's your relationship with your intuitive guidance. But I do believe sometimes that is the right thing to do, and I do have to say that most of the time when something feels like the truth, and the truth can be uncomfortable, but it is the thing to say, that when you feel that is, so I don't want to go so far as to say always, but I do, like 99% of the time, in my opinion, I would say that is the highest intuitive guidance that you could receive. Being truthful is always the highest intuitive guidance. That's my experience. So to wrap all that up, I'll say, dealing with complaining energy inside of ourselves. What we do, what I like to do, what I like to teach is we ask ourselves what's bothering us. And by the way, I do that every morning when I meditate, just to kind of clean the pipes, clear out the psychic debris. I ask myself, what's bothering me this morning? And I get quiet, and then usually there will be a little something. Okay, I mean, I have days where it's like my mind is like, no, I'm feeling great, everything's good, see you tomorrow, and I don't have that question answered. But most mornings, there's a little something in there to look at and learn from. And I believe in that little mini daily inventory work. And then I ask myself, what's bothering me? Then I look at it and I say, universe, is there anything I can change here? Is there anything I can do to learn from this situation to make it better? I'll take whatever guidance is there and do that. And then I ask the universe, is there anything else I can learn from this? And if there is, please guide my mind back to it. And I wait for the complaining to get to a place, like I said before, where if it starts looping, then I shift my awareness, my focus somewhere else. Now, if it's complaining in someone else, then we have all sorts of solutions. We get really centered and present. We allow them to talk. We soften what they're saying by pointing at, have you considered, what have you think about this? Maybe they were, everybody's always doing the best they can. And when you throw that statement out to them, everyone softens a bit with that. That's a magical thing to say to somebody when they're complaining. It really diffuses it. So you sometimes allow them to talk if you feel ready. Sometimes you just straight up say, listen, the complaining's bothering me. The best thing to do is just to say you're complaining. And there's lots of different options. So when someone is complaining, the best thing to do is to ask yourself, what is the most loving thing to do here? And be willing to do it. And you'll notice, too, there are some loving things to do that you're just not ready to do yet, like telling your boss you're sick of the complaining. Like, you may not be ready to do that, but you may be ready to sit and allow it and be peaceful and shift it. Or you may be ready to not answer the call when you know your boss is calling and you know it's probably going to be a complaining call. Like, there are levels of intuitive guidance, and you try to make it the best one that you have the emotional equity to make. So yeah, emotional equity, I'm going to do a video about that. That's a concept from Matt Kahn where I first heard that, which I think is brilliant. So anyway, there you go. Complaining energy, how I like to look at it, how I like to deal with it. Sending you all so much love today. Have a beautiful day.